Hey YouTube! Today we are going to be talking about kitchen things that we have found very useful on our travels, and hopefully you guys will find them useful as well.
So these are things that we've either purchased or we brought with us that we found very useful living in a motorhome. Just starting over where I am, something that not everyone has, but we found useful is a rice cooker. It's very easy to just throw a couple cups of water, a couple cups of rice in there, and just let it go for 20-30 minutes, and then you have perfectly cooked rice. But another thing to remember is that it doubles as a slow cooker. So if you want to make any stews or any jambalayas, anything like that, that you need a slow cooker, some of them also have that functionality.
And the reason we're talking about a lot of these different dual functions or just what helps us is because we like to make a lot of simple dinners in the RV, because as you can tell, there isn't much space in a kitchen in an RV, so using recipes or different ways of cooking that requires only one or two methods, like putting everything in a slow cooker and letting it go for 8 hours, is very simple and takes very little room.
And something that we actually purchased while we were on the road is a good hot plate. Something that, especially during the winter, and not so much during the summer, that we're really conscious about is how much propane for the motorhome we're using, because that is a whole entire ordeal of, if we need to get during the week, popping in the slides, having the leveling jacks come down to let us actually drive somewhere to get propane. So we've bought stuff like the hot plate and the toaster oven to make sure that we're using mostly electricity and not propane. And during the summer, we only use propane to heat our water, and we can go 2 months without, 2 or 3 months without having to fill up the motorhome's propane tank. So that's why we got a hot plate, which works really well. You just need to have an outlet. During the summer, if you don't want to heat up your motorhome or your RV or fifth wheel, whatever you have, we have an electrical outlet on the outside. And so we just bought a fold-up table, and we can just bring these gadgets outside and cook out there, leave the heat out there, and so that the inside stays nice and air-conditioned.
And another thing is that we use a lot of electronics for cooking and not much propane, so we specifically look for places that don't ban using toaster ovens, or places that have metered electric. And if we do metered electric, we're just careful about our AC and what types of electronics we use in the inside. So just a heads up on that one, that there are RV parks that do have bans on this type of stuff, or do have metered electric, but they're few and far between.
Yep, we encountered one while we were in the Outer Banks in off of North Carolina, that thankfully we were able to either run ceiling fans during the night and try to not use the air conditioning too much while we were there, but there are those places out there. And another thing that we've done to be able to make propane easier is that we just bought a small propane grill, but a large grill propane tank, like for a full-size grill, but then a hose to be able to connect the grill, which normally takes the little 1-pound bottles, to the full, I think it's a 20-pound bottle or 5-gallon bottle. So that's another way, because it's so much easier just to be able to take one propane grill tank to get it that filled up versus the whole entire motorhome tank, and driving the motorhome, finding someplace that actually will fill up your propane tank, everything like that. And while we're on the subject of energy, one thing to be aware of, especially if, like, let's say you're baking something in a toaster oven and then you want to do something with the burner, is that you need to know how much electricity you're using and how much electricity the motorhome gets into it. For example, we have a 30 amp hookup, which means that we can use up to 30 amps and then a circuit breaker will trip. Each of these high powered devices, like the toaster oven, the hot plate, and the air conditioner, use, I believe it's 1500 watts or 12.5 amps. So if you have the air conditioner going and the toaster oven and the hot plate, with a 30 amp fuse, you're probably going to blow it, which we've done several times. So just that's something to be aware of. Or even if you're in a larger motor home that has 2 air conditioners and a 50 amp hookup, just be aware of how much you're using, so that you don't get caught off guard and wonder why all your power went out, because you're just drawing too much from the system. So other than electricity usage, another couple things that, or a few things that we've found useful or purchased while we were on the road, was these collapsible mixing bowls, which I'll let Lily describe.
Oh no, I just wanted to pop them out.
So they're very easy to pop in and out, and they don't take much room as opposed to a hard mixing bowl that's going to take up a lot of room in your kitchen.
And just to mention for any bakers out there who are like, well, what about this soft plastic and using a mixer? Because we bought a hand mixer specifically for this because it was lighter weight than those stand-up mixers. But the plastic has held up really well to the metal, what would you call it, the little mixer things?
Beating blades.
Yeah,
beaters.
the beating blades, they have held up really well. So there's nothing to complain about there. I think the only thing that the soft plastic has done is maybe take on colors from different spices that I've used. But other than that, we love these bowls, and then we can fit them in a really small part of the RV without taking up any room.
Yep. Another thing that has been a real game changer for us, and it's really simple, is a nice plate or a cover to go over your range. If you're like us and don't use your gas range much at all, or for us, we don't ever use it, this just adds so much more counter space. And so that's something that we highly recommend if you're not going to be using your range on a daily basis or very frequently. Mm-hmm. The last gadget that some people might not think of is an ice scraper. We found that, at least for our refrigerator, ice builds up in the freezer, and so every so often we just have to scrape the sides, and instead of having to turn it off and wait for it to melt or pull out a hairdryer or anything like that, just using an ice scraper to get all of the ice scraped off the sides and the back of the freezer.
And then we just take it out and dump it in the sink, and we're all done.
So yeah, those are some of the gadgets that and appliances that we've gotten that make our life on the road a lot easier.
I think that's it. So if you have any comments, questions, concerns, let us know in the comments below, and we'll try our best to answer them.